Hey everyone, it's Danielle Taylor with Keller Williams Realty here on the beautiful Outer Banks. And today I'm here with a little tough love. And this is for all my sellers and my would-be sellers. Here's the bottom line. If it sits too long, you're priced wrong.
'Cause if it's sitting too long, then you're priced wrong.
And I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but let's first dive in and talk a little bit about what's too long. Really, I understand this can be dependent on area, it can be dependent on other factors in the market, but the reality is that we always have a few data points that we can look at to decide what's too long. So one of the things that I'm always looking at is the median days on market for that area and also the high-low of the market days in that area. And those two pieces of information can combine to give us sort of a touch point to evaluate and decide what's too long. So the other thing we can look at also is our competition selling? Because if it's selling and we're not, that's another indicator. But really that days on market should be our flag to decide that it's time to really take a hard look at price. So if we do that and we take a hard look, how do we know how much to reduce the house? How much do we know how much to reduce our price? So a couple of things that we can look at. If we've had no showings and no offers, we're way off base. So we're probably going to want to reduce by a significant amount to get that price more in line. If we've had showings but just no offers, then we're probably getting close to the right range and we might need a less amount of a price reduction than we would if we were in the other situation. So once we get to that point, let's talk about those two things. Just some information on our market, and this is for the subset of data that we follow, which is single family residential for all of Dare County and all of Corolla, including 4-wheel drive. So for those markets, the average price reduction before it sells, and this could be in 1 step or 2 steps, is 7%. Okay, so that's what we know. We also know that for the sold properties that did a price reduction, the median days between the day they did the price reduction and the day they went under contract is 21. Okay, that's for all of our under contract properties right now. So we have all these data points that we can combine and that your trusted real estate professional can combine to give you a good idea about what to do next. So I always get this argument back. Well, I want room to negotiate, or I'll start high and see what happens. Let me give you the math. You know I love the math. The path is in the math. So let's do an actual real world example. So the real world example is why pricing it right out of the gate can net you more. So sold homes on the Outer Banks that did not do a price reduction year to date for our data set sold at an average of 98% of asking price. Okay, and remember, they didn't do a price reduction, so that's 98% of asking price and 98% of their original price, because original and asking are the same. If they did a price reduction, at least one, before selling, those homes sold at an average of 97% of asking price, but here's the kicker, they sold at an average of 88.4% of original price, so the price they went out of the gate at, okay? So let's layer that data with the average of a 7% price reduction, and let's do a real world example. So let's just assume that all of the data that we've looked at suggests that the list price for the home should be $800,000. Let's say that the seller in that situation decides that no, they want to push the market, okay? So they actually want to price it 7% higher. We're using our average. So that means that the seller wants to price it at $856,000, okay? If they had priced it right out of the gate at $800,000, statistically, we should expect 98% of asking price, which means that seller should get $784,000. If we overprice it by 7% and hit that $856,000, the seller should expect statistically to net 88.4% of that original price, which is $756,704. So guys, that's a loss difference to the seller of over $27,000. That's a big deal, $27,000. So now, before everybody jumps down my throat and tells me there's lots of variables and this is a basic example, yes, I know it's a straight line example, but it is an example and it does illustrate statistically how it should work. There are exceptions on things that take time. Yes, if you're selling the Taj Mahal, you may be waiting for a unique buyer. Exceptions are just that, an exception, not the norm. The example is the norm. So overall, you really have two things. You've got time and money. So if you've got the time, you can try to wait for that unique buyer that's gonna walk in, hand you cash, all good, no questions asked. However, if you don't have the luxury of that time, it's costing you money every month to hold that asset while you wait for that one buyer. So just factor in all of these things when you're thinking about it. Just a fun fact, which I thought might be interesting. Did you know that over 10% of the homes that did a price reduction then ended up going into multiple offers? So don't be afraid about underpricing. Guys, I tell you this all the time, you can't underprice, the market will drive you. So bottom line takeaway, please listen to your real estate professional. Please factor in all of the information. Please be data driven and really try to do the best so that you can get the most for your home. Do we get it perfect every time? Of course not. But what I do know is that when we work closely together with our clients and we're in it together, we're going to get to the best possible result in the shortest amount of time. So that's my takeaway for today. Just remember, there's no better living than sandbar living.
Waves are crashing, the sun's in the sky, seagulls laughing as the boats drift by, the salty breeze, it's a life we're given. There's no better living than sandbar living.